big idea, of course, comes from the NBA Finals. Game 7 last night. It was the thrill of victory. It was the agony of defeat. Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Indiana Pacers 103-91 in Game 7 to claim the franchise's first NBA championship since they moved from Seattle to OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way as he had all year. 29 points, 12 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal en route to Finals MVP.
Feels amazing. So much weight off my shoulders, so much stress relieved. Like, no matter what, like you go into every night wanting to win, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And tonight could have been one of those nights, but we found a way. I'm so proud of this group. I wouldn't have rather done it with any other group in the world. It feels good to be a champion.
No moral victories, obviously, but deflated, but proud of everything we've accomplished. You know, there's no award for second place, obviously, so everyone's upset. But, you know, hats off to OKC. They were the better team today.
And while the Thunder were perhaps the best team all year, I don't think that's hard to question. This game was definitely marred by the first quarter injury to Tyrese Haliburton. He went down, needed help getting off the floor from a trainer and a teammate. His father confirmed to the broadcast team later on that the injury is to Haliburton's right Achilles tendon. We don't know if that is a tear. We don't know if that is a rupture. Either way you look at it, it doesn't look great for Tyrese Haliburton.
No.
But I don't think you can really question how good OKC was all year. And them winning Game 7 did kind of feel like, I won't say inevitable,
A culmination
of
of the season. No doubt.
Yeah. What'd you think about what we saw in Game 7?
I mean, I was hoping, when we had Game 7, I was very excited, and I was hoping for a down-to-the-wire type game. But as soon as Tyrese goes down in that first quarter, I know you and I watched it together, and you immediately said that doesn't look good. His face said it all, obviously. Then his father said to Lisa Salters that it was an Achilles tear or rupture or whatever it may be, and he wasn't going to be back. At that point, you kind of knew that though Indiana...
The
scales were tipped, right? Yeah. And though Indiana kept kind of toe-to-toe for, 3/4 of that game, you just felt it. You felt that at some point in the fourth quarter, and you described it well, right? You said that 9-0 run was coming, and what happened? That 9-0 run did come in the fourth quarter, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because we were watching it, and it's like, bang, three-pointer. Okay, they're up 3. Bang,
Yep.
Three-pointer. Okay, they're up 6. Bang, three-pointer. I said, that might be a wrap. That might be, I mean.
And it was a wrap.
We had seen Indiana do it so many times where they had these big comebacks throughout the postseason. I mean, and they did it one time to OKC as well. But that just felt like without Tyrese Haliburton, it was
on
going
the
to
road.
be on the road
Right.
in an environment like that. It just felt like it was almost too insurmountable to overcome, and ultimately that was what it was. But
Yep.
I think the Tyrese injury, to me, says like, okay, we can't take away from what Oklahoma City had done all year. They were a 60-plus win team this year. They were the number 1 team in the West for the second year in a row. And then they come back and they just they swept the Grizzlies here in Memphis, of course. And then they just kind of ran through the rest of the playoffs. And it really wasn't until, I mean, went to 7 with the Nuggets, but when they got to this Pacers series, it kind of felt like, okay, this is their series to lose. And I will give the Pacers all the credit in the world because everybody was doubting them.
Yes.
Kind of felt like throughout the entirety of their playoff run. But this was a series and a season that was just Oklahoma City's to lose. They won like the 3rd most games in the entirety of a season than anybody else in the NBA, behind only I believe it was the Bulls and I think
the Warriors,
and the Warriors.
Yeah,
who didn't win a championship that year.
Exactly.
So,
Shout out LeBron James.
Shout out LeBron James. So I mean, shout out to what OKC was able to do this year. I think what they did was incredible. And then you think about they're still really, really young. I mean, they drafted Chet and Jalen Williams. J-Dub in the same year, 2022, I want to say.
Yep.
And 3 years later, they're champs. I mean, shout out to Sam Presti. You got to tip the cap to the guy.
Yeah, and you're kind of waiting for him to cash in on those assets, right? If you're watching Sam Presti, like through the years, he's been kind of a hoarder of draft picks, of assets,
They're
of
scary
all this stuff.
They're scary.
And it's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Is he going to miss his window? And sure enough, he knew what he was doing. That, like he said in a previous interview, like when they got back to the playoffs, it wasn't going to be a return. It was going to be an arrival, right? Mm-hmm. And they sure enough arrived last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're an OKC fan, this has to be one of those, like, it feels like it all paid off, right?
Yes.
You watch the team come to OKC from Seattle.
Yep.
They had those phenomenal teams with James Harden and KD and Russell Westbrook, and of course KD gets traded to the Rockets on the same day, which I thought was insane. But it felt like it almost had to have come full circle for them to have kind of been at the finish line so many times. What do you think about the career arc, the franchise arc that OKC has had over the last decade?
It's been special to watch, just as a basketball fan. Obviously, I was in 9th grade, I believe, when they made it to the finals and went up against that LeBron James-led Miami Heat team, and that didn't turn out well for Durant and company. And then they kind of decide, okay, we got to blow this thing up. We can't afford to pay a young James Harden coming off the bench because he's going to be a star, right? So Presti kind of saw that before we all saw it. James Harden stardom, trades him to Houston for assets, right? That's where it kind of starts. You're accumulating assets. Then Kevin Durant leaves you high and dry. You go with Westbrook. You ride with him until that trade happens to where he ends up in Houston for some other assets, I believe, and it kind of starts there, right? Where you start drafting wisely, you start accumulating capital, assets, whatever it may be, and then this was kind of, like you said, not the finale, of course, because the franchise still exists, but this was the reward for all those years. This is the process, but done better, right? Done competently.
Yeah, done competently,
There we
right?
go.
And shout out to our guy Joel Embiid, the process. I thought this was kind of incredible. And I think I like you love the way this team was built, right? Because it wasn't necessarily the acquisition of a bunch of free agents to make this happen. A lot of these guys are homegrown, specifically in their big three, right? Chip Holmgren and J-Dub. But then you did get SGA in that trade for the Clippers, which felt like it was peanuts now in the grand scheme of things. And Paul George is...
That didn't really pan out for
Didn't
LA,
pan out for LA, didn't pan out for really anybody, right?
Yeah.
But, he was the nexus of all these things to happen. I think what's really cool about this is kind of seeing how good SGA was throughout the entirety of this. He's, I think, the only player to win the scoring title, regular season MVP, conference finals MVP, and then finals MVP, which is like nobody else has done that, and you're kind of surprised almost, like nobody else has done that before.
Well, the conference MVP is a new deal.
It is a new thing. That's fair. That's fair. That is a new thing.
Yeah.
But it's
to get all four is special, man.
Right. And nobody's done it before, and I think that sets you apart, puts you in a legendary air.
No doubt.
And we don't know what SGA's final career is going to look like yet.
No, we don't.
But from a single season, man, I mean, he did the dang thing.
Yeah, the team did the dang thing. He did the dang thing, and this team and SGA are going to go down in basketball history books. Obviously, Ashton, Thunder lore and NBA lore forever.
What do you think about what happened to Tyrese Haliburton? I mean, we knew he had the calf strain kind of coming into those last couple of games. Game 6 seemed like he was fine, right? He played through it, and then Game 7, you watched it pop. What was your kind of reaction to just kind of seeing what happened to him in that first quarter, and then what the Pacers were able to do moving forward after that?
Yeah, it was disappointing as a basketball fan. I mean, I had no rooting interest, obviously, in that game. I'm not a fan of the Thunder or the Pacers, but I wanted to see a down-to-the-wire, exciting, potentially overtime game, in which that wasn't going to happen once Tyrese Haliburton went down. It was inevitable that the Thunder would eventually pull away, but I think what was also inevitable is the injury. And that's sad to say, but how many times do we see this where there's a minor calf strain or a minor something with a leg, and a player in that moment on that stage tries to play through it, right, in a finals. And there's been so much wear and tear that, eventually something else takes a toll. Yeah. And in this case, it was the Achilles, because when you're trying to favor different parts of your leg to avoid the calf or whatever you're doing, eventually you kind of pay that price, and that's what happened, I thought.
It felt like it was such a routine play, too, right? I mean,
it really was.
He caught the ball, he gives a jab step, he goes to, I think it's to his left, and you could see it. And I think that's one of the scary things about those Achilles, those calf injuries, too, that we've seen with so many stars now. It's like, we saw it with KD, right? We saw it with Jason Tatum in this playoff series.
And Damian Lillard, right?
And Damian Lillard as well.
Yeah.
And it's like you can literally see it pop. And it's different from other injuries, I think, where you can you kind of speculating.
Yes.
But it's like everybody anywhere can watch that video and be like, that's where it is, right there. And it's nasty. We were talking about the most gruesome injuries that we had ever seen, watching it live, right? We talked about Russ Smith, Paul George as well, and that certainly Haliburton's leg injury is not nearly the same.
No, there was no bone that came out of the man's
you're not
leg,
seeing blood and bone, all that kind of stuff, but to see a man's calf pop in his leg, just it don't feel right.
It makes you squirm a little bit.
I feel like I was like scratching my calf the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out.
Like, is my Achilles in place? Like, come on.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But I think it was just sad. And then I think what the Pacers did the rest of that game was really admirable, right? I mean, you lose your leader who had been so clutch throughout the entirety of the playoffs, especially. And you're up one at halftime.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, okay, they're going to hang around in this game. I think you needed more from Pascal Siakam. I don't remember exactly what he had to end the game, but you didn't really get enough from him. TJ McConnell holding it down for all us brothers under 6 feet. He had a pretty solid game. And there was arguments that he could be, Finals MVP somehow if the Pacers would have won.
Yeah.
I think what you had to appreciate about this Pacers team was like they were the underdogs from start to finish. And ultimately, like at some point, the Cinderella run has to end.
Yep.
But for you to get all the way to Game 7 of an NBA
All to the
Finals,
fourth quarter.
So
right?
the fourth quarter,
Say,
yeah.
Maybe they'll pull it off.
They were up. The Thunder were up 13 going into the fourth. So you kind of had that feeling like I don't know.
Okay, so maybe not the start of the fourth.
Yeah. But I mean, the Pacers so many times had made those big comebacks that I think you felt confident.
That it wasn't over.
That it was not over. And I mean, and it got up to 20, I think, and they whittled it back down to 10 points.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, here it comes.
Even I said that. I think I turned to you with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. They were down all of a sudden 20 points.
We're listening to the people at the bar,
goes
right?
to a 10-point lead, right? And you're like, oh, wait, can they do it again?
Yeah, and ultimately just kind of didn't work out that way. But hey, man, to the winners go the spoils. We got to give all the credit in the world to the Oklahoma City Thunder because they are the champions. And so we'll see if they can do it again. Is this the start of a dynasty part in your mind, do you think?
No, we always do this, right?
We always
do this. I'm going to say no because we said this about the Thunder. Or not the Thunder, I'm sorry, the Nuggets a few years back with Jokic and Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. Like, will this be the start of a dynasty? And start of a really good run, but dynasty, I'm not ready to go there just yet. What about you?
Got to get probably one more championship before we really have
those
the dynasty conversation.
Yes.
But what I will say is the way their roster is built, they are primed to come back and do this again.
Yeah.
This is the reality. The East, we don't really know what the East is going to look like. It's going to be in flux with Boston Celtics and the injury to Jason
and Giannis,
Tatum.
where he moves. Yeah.
We don't know where Giannis is going to go. And the West just keeps getting more stacked every day, especially after that Kevin Durant trade. So we'll have to see what goes on in the West. What I do know is the Grizzlies are going to have to make some moves. Otherwise, it could get scary.
Yeah, they are not fine in the West.
Out here,
as currently constructed, not fine.